Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I am back with you. I have been out the last 2 weeks because I was sick. Something really just got a hold of me and was not letting go. But I am back at least to close this series out. This is the end of phase 1 of the Marketing Mastery series, Strategies and Tactics for Modern Business Growth. And I'm just thankful to have had each and every one of you along with us for these 7 weeks, as well as Reem. I mean, she's amazing how she's walked everyone through and had these assignments and exercises throughout these sessions. We really could not have done it without her because these are her brain, this is her passion, that she's put out in the content for the last couple of weeks. I'd also like to thank our partnerships for this program that have helped support this, which is the California Office of Small Business Advocate, the Minority Business Development Agency's Business Center here in Sacramento, the San Joaquin Small Business Development Center, and the Small Business Transportation Resource Center, the Southwest region. It has been a pleasure in hosting you throughout this marketing journey, along with my colleague Rami, who sat in for me the last couple of weeks. Now, today we are thrilled to delve into session 7, Data Driven Marketing, where you will learn how to measure and analyze marketing performance as it is essential for any business. Learn how to track key metrics, understand the cost of customer acquisition, calculate lifetime value, and measure return on investment. This session provides the tools and knowledge needed to make data driven decisions in your marketing efforts. And of course, leading us today is Reem. So before I hand it to you, Reem, let me just remind everyone that they will receive a PDF of all of the recordings at the end of the session. So you guys can look back and have all the passcodes. Later on, I will be transferring this series over to our YouTube channel. Well, you will have an unlisted link where you can access to view this again if you ever want to just kind of go back and learn what Reem covered. Other than that, go ahead and take it away for this last session, Reem.
Thank you, Liz. It's been great doing this. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of learning. I'm super excited to finish it off. So I should be sharing screen. Do you? It doesn't. It's not showing that I'm sharing screen. Let's try this again. Oh, Liz, can you give me permission to screen share?
Yes, let's see. I went ahead. Yes, I gave you co-hosting permissions now.
Thank you. All righty, let's get started. So today is the ever so exciting topic of data. For some people, this is the driest, most boring topic, but because of the capabilities it gives you, this should be the most exciting. Now I'm screen sharing, but I have a blank white screen. Do you guys have anything other than a blank white screen?
Yep, I see the blank white screen too.
No,
Let, let me see what's going on.
I don't. It seems like every time I go into present mode, it does that. I'm at a client site and they have
Let's
top-notch
see.
security, almost debilitating. It's it's a little bit much. Um,
Do you want me to screen share?
Yeah, I think I might have to do that, Liz. I'm not able to. I'll
Okay.
stop sharing and then I'll let you take over.
Okay, let's see. Okay. And then are you able to control the screen as well? I believe on the top it
Um,
says slide control.
Request remote
Let's see.
control. I'm sending it to you now.
Got
So I
it.
just sent you a
Perfect.
request for remote control. Got it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's see if it's working. Let me. Huh?
There you go.
Oh,
Can you try?
yeah, I'm clicking like a mad woman. No idea.
Yeah, I see the mouse moving around.
I'm not sure where to click to. Did PowerPoint just crash?
Oh no. I think so. Let me see.
All right. Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. Let me try screen sharing again, and I can just run through the slides in PowerPoint as opposed
Okay,
to,
got it.
right? You get it.
Mhm.
Okay, now everyone sees my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I will not go into present mode just because it's apparently too much for our system. All right, let's get going. So mastering metrics. We always said so far was that it's boring, but it is actually opening the doors to so many exciting things for you guys. So you're gonna love this when we're done. It is the final session. We've gone through 6 other sessions. I hope you've attended them all. If you haven't, there are recordings, and you can go back and get caught up on the recordings and access the workbooks. This session does not have a workbook. If the workbook is something you really do want for this topic, please just request it in the chat or let Liz know, let me know, and we can accommodate. All righty. Is it just me? This entire week has been technical difficulties for me. It's just like
Yep.
anything electronic has been glued.
Our Outlook has been acting up, so we're all feeling it.
Right? Yeah, for some reason we're stuck. We can't get to the next slide. Let's try again. Let's skip. Oh, wow. All righty. Let me just sort of talk through the slides. I'll just use these as cue points for me until the slides are loading. So a lot of people talk about data-driven marketing, and what is data-driven marketing? So basically it's when you are making your decisions based on the data as opposed to Hollywood's view of advertising and marketing, which is someone's, driving down the road and just has a sudden epiphany, and they're like, oh, this is going to make us millions of dollars. They go create an ad campaign, and then suddenly they're millionaires, right? That's sort of how all Hollywood shows marketing to work. It's really not how marketing works, right? Really, the way it works is you've got a lot of resources, whether it's your time or your money that you're putting into your marketing, and you're not going to put silly willy nilly on just random ideas that come to you in the shower, right? You're definitely going to take those ideas, you're going to put them down, write them out, plan them out, and look at your data to see what makes sense and what doesn't for your customers. Why is it important? Obviously the ROI and the costs, but there's other reasons. When you're taking a data-driven approach, you're going to start doing things like segmenting your audiences. And I know that a lot of you are already segmenting your audiences, but that helps you to provide more personalized attention to your customers, because you're tracking who likes what are they doing on your website, or what are they doing on your e-commerce store, and collecting that data allows you to have a more strategic approach in building your relationships with your customers. You're improving your customer relationships when you're using your data. You're improving your costs. It's just a smart way to do business. That covers benefits. Let's try this one. Please work. No one wants to just hear me. I'm going to try reloading. So the next slide is talking about different types of data sources, and there's internal data sources and external data sources. So the internal ones are the data that you're generating, that you're collecting, whether it's on social media or on your website, your email marketing, that's all your proprietary data that no one else sees. That's your internal data or surveys you're running. External data is data you're gathering from other sources, be it research, industry research, or any type of other data you are collecting. This is getting collecting data best practices. So some of the best practices here are making sure your data is one complies with all privacy rules. You gotta get that out of the way. And I think a lot of you who are doing opt-in emails, you're doing emails, are already doing opt-ins. But that is probably one of the number one priorities for most companies. A lot of you may actually right now be at the point where you slip through the cracks, you're under the threshold. I don't know what the current threshold is, and I could double check for you. But I think it's something like 2,000. If you have 2,000 people visiting your website, then you're less than 2,000 in a month or something. I don't remember the exact numbers. I'll look it up. Then you're clear. You don't have to worry about California regulations for privacy. The other thing is data cleanliness. The most important thing with data is for it to be clean and clear, and it's important to document everything that you're tracking, what it means. A lot of times you're going to be inventing new things that you're going to start tracking and giving it names. If you don't document that all, you will forget what it is you're tracking. I don't know, Liz, what do you think? It worked for like 1 second and then it just stopped.
Do you
I don't
want
think
me to
this is,
share and let me know? I can always change the slides. Or
yeah.
actually, let's see. You shared the link in the chat. I see that there's a couple of guests in.
So yeah, so they're able to see the slides, but I'm not. Is that what
Oh,
maybe?
I see. Probably. Let's see. I can share my screen and just let me know when to change
I
the
never know how to
slide.
do that. I didn't want to do that to you, Liz.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm here.
Yeah, let's do that because this is kind of
Okay. Let me
doesn't
know
make sense to be staring at a white screen as we're going.
what page are you on? Did you want me to?
9.
9. Got it.
Or we could probably go to 10 already.
Okay, 10. Okay, let me share.
Let's see.
Go with. And did you want to keep it like this or
Or
did we
just that's
want
fine.
to? Okay.
That works. It doesn't make a difference to me. That
Okay.
works. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, because after I was just getting tired of reading the little tiny titles. I'm like, what slide are we on?
Yes.
I try to guess. So okay, here we are. We're on tools and tech. The number one tool for you if you have a website is Google Analytics. And if you have not yet set up Google Analytics, that is going to be your top priority. You want to go home and set up Google Analytics today. If you are on social media, then obviously your social media insights, and I think most of you are already doing that, so I'm not too concerned there. What are you going to get out of Google Analytics if you set it up? You can see real-time traffic. So if you're running a live event, you can see what's going on. You can also see sort of your user behavior on your website. What sites are they going to? What sites are they, or pages are they going to? What pages are they not going to? How much time they're spending on these pages. So this will give you real insights that will help you better develop your website in a way that makes sense for your customers and your audience. We're gonna skip the Facebook one. Let's go to the next page. I think we've talked about social media at length. You missed it, but we did it last week. So, and then if you're using email marketing, I think a lot of you are already using email marketing, and you should be utilizing the data analytics that's provided there within. And there you will see your open rates, who's opening your emails, who's not, what percent are opening, your click-through rates, And I think a lot of you guys are already doing that because some of you have already started in email marketing. Those who have not, do take a look at the analytics that are available in whichever email platform you decide to use. MailChimp is the sort of the industry go-to, but as they gain popularity, they also raise their prices, obviously. But they do give you up to 200 free users. So if your email list is less than 200 users, MailChimp may actually be a really good option for you. Options would include MailerLite or Constant Contact. All right. Next slide, Liz. All right. CRMs we've talked about them a little before. They're great ways for you to track your users. And HubSpot is a fantastic way to start because it's very easy to use. It's drag and drop, and it allows for attribution. It allows you to kind of see, track who's hit your social media account and then came to your website and then made an order or booked an appointment with you. And so HubSpot is one of the best for small to medium-sized businesses because they've built it to be very simple and to really follow your users throughout their journey, even when they're off-site. There's a little bit of setup for you to do in the back end, but once you get that setup done, that data will be there for you, easy for you to access. Next slide. Okay. Was that actually accidentally a duplicate? All right, then let's go to the next, yeah. Mastering UTM tracking for campaign analytics. This is probably one of the most important things to learn, and we're gonna spend a bit of time talking about it today. So what are UTM parameters and why are they important? Every one of us has at some point shared a link with someone and the link was obscenely long, right? And you can see like this one here, you've got like edit, question mark, ID equals, and there's all this mumbo jumbo at the very end, at the rest of it. Some of that is your UTM. It's called an urchin tracking module. Nobody calls it that, don't worry. And they help you track your information. So if you look down at the bottom of the screen, we have an example. So your normal website would be www.example.com, right? Then we add this question mark, and then we have our UTMs, and there's different types of UTMs. And that's information that can be stored and tracked inside Google Analytics. All right, let's go a little bit deeper. Go ahead. So some things you can do, why people use UTMs is that it helps you track your campaigns, tracks the source where they're coming from, which campaigns are doing well, which aren't, and even help you track your costs. Next slide. Okay, so there are 5 standard UTMs that you can use today. You don't need to wait for anyone to do anything for you, and you can start using them. The way you start using them, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm going to briefly say is all you do is next time you share out your email address, you don't just share out www.example.com. You share out that and then the question mark and all the stuff at the end. So all you do is just type it in there. That's all you do to create a UTM. Just by typing that in when you share your URL out, you have created a URL. So here are the 5 standard things that you can track: source, medium, campaign, term, and content. And we're going to go deeper into each of these. The one thing I do want to note is you can do more than just this 5, but you're going to need help from a dev friend or a freelancing dev person to set up Google Tag Manager. And if you do that, you can track practically literally anything you want. The only caveat for that is you don't want your UTMs to be like a user ID. There's other ways to track user ID. But for now, we're going to focus, and today we're going to focus just on the standard ones because they actually provide you a lot of capabilities. So let's dig deeper. All right, so the source parameter identifies, it helps you see which site sent the traffic to your group. So for example, let's say you're doing a social media campaign and you are running social media across like Facebook, Instagram, you're doing Twitter, you're doing it all, right? So you would set up your source as one of those, right? So it'd be like, this came from Instagram. And then another link that you're going to, before you put your link out there on Facebook, you're going to change the link, add the UTM parameters, and add the source as Facebook. And then the medium, you would add the type of channel it was. So it would be like, for the examples we have here, email. In our example of social media, you would write social media. You might get more specific, right? You might be like social media ads or whatever. A reel versus a post, because maybe those things aren't going to be tracking to your website and you want to track that. So you can put it in the source, you can put it in the medium, but you need to decide for yourself where it's going to go, and you need to be consistent. So if you're forever going to say Facebook or Instagram Reels versus Instagram posts, decide where you're going to determine it and keep it consistent. And then the campaigns, that's pretty obvious. It's whatever campaign you're running. Just put the name of the campaign there. Make sure it's really clear. The terms, this is specifically for Google Ads. And these are the terms that you're bidding on, okay? So if you're not running Google Ads, you will not be using the term one quite yet. All right. The content one is most often used for A/B testing. So let's say you create 2 different reels, one that's like testimonials, and then another one is like some just content that you created, some funny trend that's going on, whatever. With the content parameter, you can track each of those. You can say, oh, this link that came through from a testimonial or a content you created, and give it a very specific name. So the UTM content is generally used for A/B testing when you want to compare different things, but you can use it for whatever you want. So for the example they're giving you here is like logo link versus a text link. And you want to see, well, which one are people clicking on? You might have both of those in your email, right? You might have one email where you're writing a little something and you put a text link, and then down below you put a button link. And so each one of those links can actually be a different link with a different UTM. One of the links would say text link, and the other one would say button link. And so when you go back to your Google Analytics, you'll see that information. We'll talk a little bit later about how to see that information in Google. Yeah, next slide, thanks. All right, so how do we create these logos? I am going to show you a shortcut in a minute. But before I do that, I do want to walk you through how to create it yourself. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to go through the step-by-step creation so that you know how to do it, and also you understand what's inside your UTMs, so that you can edit them on the fly or troubleshoot if there's something not making sense for you. So let's take a look. You're always going to start off with the website. And so the example here is just www.example.com. But for you, it might be www.example.com/sign up, right? could be backslash and like the name of your campaign, whatever web page you're using, whatever landing page you're directing them to, etc. That's the first part, okay? The next thing you're going to do is put a question mark, and the question mark tells the computer that there's more information coming, but it will not affect necessarily what they're seeing on their page, depending. For UTM tracking, it doesn't affect it. Okay, so we'll be adding our first one. Usually the first one people add is the source. They can go in any order. It will not affect your data collection. You want to put source, medium, source, makes no difference. So you put your source, and for this example, we're doing Google as your source. And then for a Google ad, and then how do we differentiate that? Like we said in the medium, we're differentiating the channels. So this would be medium is CPC, which is the ads, the cost per click ads. And then next would be your campaign. So these are ads you're running on Google for this example, a summer sale. And the search term that you are targeting in your paid search in this example is running shoes, and so you would add that. So for each one you're adding, you're going to put an and sign, and then you're going to put you put UTM underscore, and then the type of parameter you're adding, and then what it equals. What is the value that you want to feed into the system? And so in the end, you're going to have a very long link. And the reason I wanted to walk through this with you guys is you can build this on your own. You don't need a tool to build it. And I want you to get a sense for how it is completely in your control. And it exists no place else but in your mind. And that's really important. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The other thing that's really important to note is there should be no spaces. Once you put a space in there, it cuts off. Anything after the space is not part of the link and will not be tracked. So you want to make sure that you have no spaces. You want to make sure that everything is lowercase. And I know that all sounds scary. There's a lot to track to make sure that your UTMs are working right. And that's why we're going to go to the next page, and you're going to learn the best way to build your UTMs. Let's go ahead, Liz. And that is Google has provided a campaign URL builder. And I thought I put the link in, but I didn't. You can just Google campaign URL builder. And we can also get you the link. But what it's super awesome. You're going to go in there, and it's going to ask you what is the website that you want to send people to, and put it in. And then they're going to ask you what is your source, and you put it in. And then at the very end, at the bottom, they're going to spit out your URL, your UTM. They're not doing anything special for you. Honestly, they're not doing anything you're not capable of doing. But it's a cleaner system to make sure that you don't accidentally put a space in the middle. It's just a way for you to make sure that your UTMs are clean and are going to work. And then let's go ahead and go to the next page. So some things that are really important to know. Best practices for when you're doing your UTMs. Consistency is key. When you're collecting your data, if you've already done some data collection, you've probably already encountered this. If you're doing your analysis just inside an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, and you want to count, you're doing pivot tables or something, and you want to count the number of people coming from Google. Google with a capital G and Google with a lowercase g are considered two separate sources. It's going to completely mess with your data. That's why it's important to keep everything standardized. Make sure everything is consistent. And also why it's important to use the campaign, Google's nifty campaign builder URL. The next thing is you want to make sure that when you're sitting there by yourself and you're inventing your little values for your different parameters. And by the way, you can have as many as you like. You're making them so that they make sense for you, right? So when you see them, you understand them. So you might feel fancy saying it's, campaign number 325, like in this example. That's not helping anybody. When those data reports come out and it says campaign 325, it's not going to help you. Give it a name that helps the person who's reading it. So if you're the one-man team, then make it to help you. If someone else is going to be reading your data, make it so that it's clear for them when they see the data come in. what campaign that was. So something specific like spring email blast or whatever campaign, if you're doing an email campaign or whatever type of campaign. And then remember I said, last thing here is documentation. Remember when I said that these UTMs really exist nowhere except in your mind until you create it and then you write it down and it becomes a link and you share it out and someone clicks on it. Otherwise, it doesn't exist anywhere. So you need to document it. You need to write down all the UTMs that you've created and exactly what they mean. And provide definitions, because today you know what that is. Later, a week from now, a month from now, depending on your memory, 6 months from now, you're going to come back and not know what that data is. What did you mean by this data? And then you might, for example, be doing a spring email blast every year. So you're going to need to decide things like, am I going to say spring email blast 2023 and then 2024 and then 2025 so that I can distinguish this year from last year and next year? Or are you going to just use spring email blast every year and track them all together and just sort of look at the year and you'll know which email blast it was? Kind of obvious. It's today's data, it's this year's. So those are decisions you're going to be wanting to make. How important is it for you to differentiate and how granular you want to get? And when you make those decisions, you need to write them down because it is very easy to lose track. Like we said, there's 5 parameters, and so it's very easy to forget what you've determined for each and decided for each one of those 5 parameters. So very important. Most people just track them in a Google sheet or an Excel sheet. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just need to write them down and their definitions and descriptions and any decisions you've made as to how you're differentiating your parameters and values. Alrighty, next. So now you've created your parameters, you've sent them out, and people are clicking. You want to see the data. Where do you go? You're going to go to Google Analytics. Like we said, these UTM trackers are going to help you see who's coming to your website. And then Google Analytics will pull that information and you will find it in Google Analytics. You're going to go to acquisition because this is all about where you acquired these people. How did you acquire them? And then if you go to your campaigns and all campaigns, you will see all of the campaigns and you will see their source in Medium. You'll see where they're coming from. You'll see the content that they clicked on. Did they click, like we said, on that text button, or did they click a text link or a button link? Everything you provided will be in your all campaigns. Next slide. There are other ways you can also see this, and that is when you go into the reporting in Google Analytics. So you can look at campaign performance, and there you can see all your campaigns. You can go deeper into one campaign, and it'll have all the information that is normally available to you for your campaigns, for all your websites. Sorry, so like the number of users, number of pages, user sessions, bounce rates, any information that you're tracking, you will see broken down by campaign in your campaign report. One thing I didn't write in here, and I should have, and I'm going to say it quickly. You might also want to turn on Google Signals. It comes as a standard build-in with the old Google Analytics. You had to build it out yourself. You don't need to build it out yourself anymore, but you do have to turn it on if you want to be grabbing demographic information. So if you want to see this content is resonating with whom, age ranges, gender, interests, other things that they're doing online, you do need to turn on Google Signals. So that's just important to note. And it's really just a button you press, but you got to do it. Moving on, other reports you can look at, source Medium report. Oh, sorry, go back. I was moving on inside the slide. I'm sorry, Liz. Source medium report, it's found under acquisition as well. Then you go to traffic, right? So this is telling you where is your traffic coming from, the source and the medium. The website that sent you the source, sent you the traffic, and sort of that channel that the website can have multiple mediums, right? So multiple channels. And so you could find that there. Excuse me. When you're in any of those sites, you can drill down deeper using the secondary dimension feature. So it looks like a little plus sign. So let's say you look at source and medium, and you can hit the plus sign and then for secondary dimensions, and you can just search up content or term, and those will come up and you can add them. And that is, like I said, really helpful if you're doing A/B testing to see what's performing better where. And as you can tell, you're kind of imagining as we're talking about this, we've already drilled down source and medium. If you add a layer of content, then you can see how the A/B test performed on each of the different sources, each of the different mediums. So you can get very granular information as you layer on more data. All right, now we're ready, Liz. Things to look at as you're analyzing your data. If you have segmented your audience in the past, you might want to take a look at how these campaigns are performing across your segments that you've already created in Google Analytics. If you haven't, then you can use this data to create new audiences and to segment your users for tracking later. So for example, we said you did like a summer blast, you got your running shoes on sale, whatever. And so everyone who comes in through that campaign, you can tag them and make them a segment of their own. These are like my spring running shoes fans, and you can track how they're interacting with your site perpetually, right? You'd be like, oh my gosh, these running shoes fans, the people who came in for the running shoes campaign, they bought and they stuck, they stayed, they're sticky customers, and they're still buying. Or you might find the other way around, that they bought their running shoes and they never came back. So you want to take a look, like, what do I need to do for retention to keep them coming back? Maybe I do need to send out a survey, etc. So this is an important thing to note, is that you can use these to build out extra segmentation. The other things you can do with these is create custom dashboards for yourself. Google Analytics allows you to create custom dashboards so that you're not every time you're going in there recreating and going back and adding your secondary dimensions. You can create your custom dashboards and check up on your campaigns on a regular basis, super fast and easy. Do it once and then just repeat. It'll be a lot easier. And then finally, you can look at your funnels. You can see how these campaigns, because now you're tracking them, you can see how they're contributing to your conversions, assuming you've set up conversions in Google Analytics. All right, we're ready to move on. Oh my gosh, we don't have much time. Okay, I'll try to be faster. I already talk fast enough, I feel. Okay. Ways to set up your campaigns to make sure from the very beginning you're collecting data. Next slide. We're gonna go super fast. You're like, it's like time's running out. All right, so first you gotta get your mindset into, I'm going to be collecting data. And you gotta set those goals so that they're measurable and data oriented. Otherwise, you're never going to measure anything, right? It's going to be like, I just want more friends. Like, I want more people, whatever. It's not measurable. So you have to kind of really sit down with yourself and think of something that you can measure that you want to improve. And then that will set you down the right path. For examples we have here is like you want to improve customer retention by 10%. You want to increase sales. So now we're thinking of the things that are really concrete. You want to increase sales of a very particular product by a certain percent over a very specific period of time. Or you want to boost your traffic by a certain percentage. Why is it important for you to sit down and force yourself to write this down. It's not just for what we're going to be talking about the rest of the class today, or the rest of our lunch and learn. It's also because you want to manage your own expectations for your campaigns in the future. If you find you're consistently saying, I'm going to increase sales by 50%, but you really only increase it by 20%, that's going to help you figure out your ROI. Are you spending too much if you're being overly optimistic? Or maybe you're on the other way around. Maybe you're like kind of like, oh, I don't think anyone's going to like it. It's only going to be 5%. And people love it. And if that's the case, maybe next time you should put more resources and really go all out because people are loving it. So don't sell yourself short. And so that's why it's important to always kind of have those measurable goals in the beginning so you can see how you can adjust and create better goals in the future and allocate your resources accordingly. All right, next slide. All right. Now that you have your goals, you can decide, well, am I setting myself up for success? Do I have the platforms that are going to track the numbers that I need to make sure I'm hitting my targets? And so if you're talking about followers on social media, you got to go back to your social media platforms. Make sure you have everything set up so that it's easy for you to track. I'm not going to go through all the details here. Lots of just examples. Next slide. Segmentation we've talked about a lot. I think we can skip this one. There's something I wanted to say. I don't see the slide for it. Okay, I'm gonna have to backtrack. Give me a second. All right, let me pause here 1 second, then I will talk about A/B testing again. Although we've already talked about it a bit. But when we're saying that you need to plan in advance and you have to figure out your goals, you need to figure out your platforms, ensure the platforms are set up. The next slide is supposed to be, you need to figure out those metrics. What are those numbers? Because some of the things that you need to set as your goals, for example, are retention. That can be a vague word. So what exactly are you going to measure? Especially if you're not an ongoing purchase type thing. So like subscriptions, retention's easy because it's simply that, you have a certain number of accounts that didn't unsubscribe. That's all that is. But if you're running events, for example, it's difficult to track retention unless you're tracking individual users. So maybe that's something you need to start doing, right? So when your first step, we said, is you're going to figure out your goals, you're going to figure out your platforms, and you're going to go into those platforms and find those specific metrics. Make sure they're being tracked. If it's not being tracked, you need to set it up before you start the campaign. So this is something that has to happen before you begin your campaign. It is so easy, especially if you're a creative, to get excited, or if you're a little bit, yeah, we'll just stick with that. If you're a creative, you get an idea and you're like, yay, let's do this campaign. It's going to be awesome. And you set it up and then it's running. And then you're like, is it working? Are people coming? And then you're like, oops, I never set up analytics. I have no idea. You're just sitting in there in the dark, and then anxiety will take over. You'll have no idea. So make sure you're setting up your analytics before you start the campaign. Make sure you know which metrics you want to track and that they are working, and test them. Test your metrics. Make sure that every trigger that you've set up is working. All right. So really, really, really important. And believe it or not, there's marketers out there who don't do that. So now we can focus on this slide. This slide is about A/B testing. We've talked about it a little bit before, but again, it's easy to get carried away with A/B testing. You're like, I'm going to do a purple button and a pink button and a blue button, and I'm going to do a text button. It's too much. Your audience probably is not that large. You'll end up sending like the email to 3 people, right? But if so try to focus on just 2. It's A/B testing. Just 2 options your first time around and forever. But just keep it down to 2, really. If you've been doing this for a long time and you want to bump it up to 3 and you have a huge audience, like you've got thousands of people and you want to do a third, maybe that's the time. But for most people, it's going to be just A/B testing, just two. You'll create two different versions. And we've talked about this at the email, and I'm going to say it again now. Make sure your versions, your two different versions, only have one difference. I know that sounds limiting. I know it sounds frustrating. But if you have two completely different differences, completely two different ads, for example, you're not going to know why did this one work better than the other? You'll be guessing. Was it because it was a better picture? Was it because of the button? Was it because of the text? You have no idea. So make them identical with the one exception, that one thing you want to test. You want to test your new tagline, make that the only thing that changes. You want to test the imagery, like real photos versus vector graphics, make that the one thing you change. And be very clear, and then be sure about how you're gonna track it. Is it's going to be an open rate thing if it's a subject line? Is it a click-through rate if it's inside your email? And then finally, like we mentioned before, mention it again, the UTM content. Name them clearly, those two different versions, and be very, very specific about your naming so that you don't mess up in the end when you're coming back to it. So like so don't be like option A, option B. That's not helpful. Be very specific in your naming. All right. The next point here, when you're looking at data, a lot of times it's easy to get used to looking at data from one channel. You want to look at your data across different channels. You want to look at the campaign that you're running. And we've talked about running multi-channel campaigns. You guys got this. You can do this. You're going to be running your campaigns on your social media. You're running your campaign on your email. And you start having more funds, you're going to be running, Google ads and maybe even YouTube ads, video ads. And so there's so many different channels you're going to be using. And in all of those times that you're using, you're doing digital, you're putting out a link, you're going to be using that same UTM campaign we talked about earlier, right? You're going to put that in there. And so you can track all the different channels. And you can track them in multiple places, and you can track them for the ones that are coming to your website all in Google Analytics, but you can track them in each of your different platforms. If you have your social media platform, your email platform. And the thing I want to mention here now is, let's say you are running all these different things and you want to bring it all together and you don't have budget. HubSpot's capabilities to maybe are some of it's free, but you're looking for things that might be out of budget for you. My recommendation, the cheapest option, is Google's Data Studio. It's actually called Looker Studio now. So Google's Looker. I don't know why they changed the name. Data Studio makes sense to me. Looker Studio is the funniest name. It doesn't make sense. But you can, for free, integrate a lot of your other channels and platforms into Google Data Studio for free. So Google Analytics, anything Google product can go straight into Google Data Studio for free. There are others that will require integrations, like your social media, etc. But a lot of the time those integrations are actually affordable. They're not too bad. And they're super easy to set up. Like it's literally like a click of a button. And the advantages of doing that is you then can start creating for yourself dashboards inside Data Studio with everything about one campaign across all the channels. So you can see how many people saw your post on social media, right? So you have your impressions, your social media impressions, and then your social media clicks, and then you can see what they're doing on your website. So you can start building sort of a visual funnel for yourself, how people are progressing through their journey in your campaign, and then they sign up for your website, the email, etc., all on one page. And having all your data on one page, it's just another level when it comes to strategy for you. Having everything in different websites can be really scattering physically, but also mentally. Your mind gets scattered when things aren't all in front of you at once. And so highly recommend it. It's free. If you already have a Google account, then Google Data Studio will help you bring your data together. The other reason I recommend Google Data Studio is Google Analytics, as beautiful as it is to see your website data, it's not necessarily easy to find the data inside. You might be looking for something, you're like, well, which one of these tabs do I go to? And you go and you click and you can't find it. Data Studio, once you click the button that brings in your analytics data for you, will come up with a list of all the data that's there. So you're looking for new users, you literally just type in their new users, or you scroll down to the N and it's there listed. You click on it, boom, you've got it. So I highly recommend using Data Studio. It'll save you so much time, and you can just recreate your little, whatever charts you want. You want a table, you want pie charts, bar graphs. You can do all of that visualization in there, or you can just have spreadsheets in there. And you can export it as a Google Sheet, or you can have it send right to your Google Sheet. So you have all the data pulled. If you want to manipulate the data and play with the data, you can do that via Google's Data Studio if maneuvering and navigating Google Analytics is not straightforward for you, or you're not finding the data you want. Highly recommend Google Data Studio. All right, I should have had a slide just for Google Data Studio, it looks like. Next time we'll do that, Liz. Yeah. Tracking systems. I think we kind of went over this. Let's skip it. I want to make sure we have time for questions. There's one more thing that I really wanted to say. Yes, this is the one. I just wanted to kind of put this in perspective, different ways you're gathering data. And maybe I should have said this in the beginning. Those of us who have cooked for a large number of people, like a large family gathering or a party or something, and you've made a whole bunch of different dishes, and you ask your guests, oh, what did you think of the linguine or whatever, right? What are they all going to say? Oh, it was wonderful, it was lovely, it was the best I've ever had, thank you very much, right? And you get no real data, right? So that is direct feedback. That's where you ask your guests, what did you think of the tamales? And they're all going to say it was fabulous. But when you're doing the data that we've been talking about today, you're getting the real data. And what's that real data? That's when you look at the platter and you see which one's empty. That's real data. If everyone's like, oh, the linguine was fantastic, but the platter looks the exact same as when you put it out there, really, sorry, hate to break it to you, but no one likes your linguine. Like, no one's touched it. They tasted it and they moved on. There was something amiss, right? So that's exactly the data that you're getting with Google Analytics. You're getting that real data. People will say, oh yeah, your website's gorgeous, it's beautiful. But then you look at your Google Analytics and you can see, do people actually go to the pages? And then when they go, are they spending 5 seconds and they're gone? Or do they actually sit down and write that article that took you 2 weeks to write? Are they sitting down and reading it all the way through? And that'll help you again with your resources. You'll know, hey, when I write these blog articles, some of these articles, people are actually reading it, like average read times, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And these other ones, average read times, like 30 seconds or 1 minute. You know that maybe this wasn't, people are saying they like it, your friends are saying it's great, but the users, they're not reading it, or they are reading it, it's time for you to create more like that. They really like it and they really are spending time on your website. So that's the difference between getting direct feedback and getting passive feedback. And passive feedback, I know it sounds like it's not the right kind of feedback. It's actually better for you because it's honest feedback. It's real feedback. So there it is. You can use the linguine example to remember which is which, but it's not, I guess you don't really need to know the terms, but do remember that there is sometimes direct feedback is not as precise, it's not as honest as the passive feedback. Alrighty. Oh my gosh, we're 2 minutes left. All right, next slide. Let's see if there's anything else that is really important for you guys to know. Compliance and privacy. I really do think most of you are going to be within the limits for the CCPA. I think most of you will be fine. The next one, And most of you are not working in Europe, you're all local. Launch, monitor, optimize. I think we've said this with every lunch and learn so far. Every time you do something, you've got to monitor it, you've got to optimize it. So we're saying it again one last time. Launch, monitor, optimize. Last slide. What's the last slide? Let's see the last slide. Oh, and then we'll optimize, review, and analyze your data. Go back, look at it, and do a postmortem. Think about what you can do better, and do it better next time. All right, we did it with 1 minute left for questions. I'm so sorry, guys. Any questions?
Nothing in the chat,
All
but
right.
I
All right.
welcome if anyone wants to unmute and ask a question. Oh, here we
We got to
go.
thank you. Okay, good.
Yes, we got to thank you.
All right. It's good to know that they're still alive. Get to the data one. I'm always
Yes,
worried people are just going to fall asleep. They're like, data, I'm going to take a nap now.
right.
Really quick, I know this is the last session. And then Elizabeth, I think in your last email, you mentioned something about sending out a link to book time slots with Ream. Okay. Cool.
Yes. We will be sending the link, the Calendly link this evening. Once I get that availability from Reem,
Okay.
and you'll be able to schedule. Reem, is it okay to share the days just ahead
Yeah.
of time?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I do want to make you guys aware that Mondays and Fridays work with Reem's schedule, so she'll be able to meet those days. So if you guys can work around your schedules or find some time within those 2 days, those will be available to meet with Reem. First session, I do want to mention, will be or should be an hour long to make sure that you have enough time to go over with Reem your business, what you've what you've done already in depth. And then from there, according to your schedules, 30 or 45-minute sessions, alternating every other week if that helps. That way you can work on any homework or any assignments that that Reem assigns for you to work on. And pretty much, since there are about 10 of you that are very consistent, I want to make sure that you all have as much time with Reem as possible. And really, it depends how much work you get done, Janine. She's asked, how many sessions do we get? Really, it'll depend between with you and Reem. How much work you guys get done, um, seeing the results and seeing how much you guys want to continue to work on your campaign or your marketing for your business. So it'll really just depend between you and Reem from there. I really can't say, I can't measure at the moment how many sessions it'll take each of you. But I just did want to add that tidbit there. And then if there are no
Is
more
it just more
questions,
individualized and like open-ended support wherever
right?
we're specifically at? Okay.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I want to make sure that I'm working with Reem's schedule to make sure that she still has to get done on her end, her job. I don't want to, just get in and mess up her schedule there, but it'll really just depend. I want to work with Reem's schedule as well as yours. And if there are no more questions, I can go ahead and close out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Reem. You've been amazing. Thank you, thank you. We can't thank you enough, and I've enjoyed working and partnering with you for this, as well as having our business owners with us and our partners as well for supporting this program. Like I said, I will provide the Calendly link later this evening, and as well as the PDF with all of the recordings and the passcodes. That way you can go back and rewatch any of these sessions.
All right, fantastic.
And yeah, let's see. Janine says, if we already have social media campaigns, can you review what we have done so far to provide feedback, or will that be discussed once we actually schedule?
Yeah, we can definitely review them. Yeah, absolutely. So once we I feel like that's one and the same. When we schedule, when we meet, we'll talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. I'm open to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, Janine, you'll be able to show everything to Reem. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I want to make sure I give you back time, and look out for that email later this evening. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. All right, everyone. Thank you and have a great day.
No, she did. I can do awesome, Janine. Take care.